Hey everyone, my name is Sean, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a profile and breakdown on the Archfiend archetype for you. And I'm going to show you what the deck looks like, and then I'm going to go and show it in action. This was requested by one of my subscribers. I'm sorry, at the moment I forgot who it was, but here you go, man. Enjoy the deck profile. Archfiends are an oldie and a classic kind of nostalgia based archetype. Archfiends are far from being competitive. This is more of a funsy deck, and the real issue with Archfiend is that a lot of the cards are just really out of date. All of the original chess piece Archfiends are no longer any good in the game, and to be honest with you, they weren't even that good at the time of their release. And then they did try to release some newer Archfiends like Archfiend Cavalry or Commander, but the problem with these cards here is that they are very, very slow. These cards all work as effects where when they are destroyed by a card effect, they do a trigger effect. And while that is kind of good in a format where people are playing lots of removal cards like Dark Hole, Ragged and Monster Reborn, we are long beyond the time of people using those cards and those cards being popular. So now you have to kind of rely, if you want to trigger these effects, on yourself to kind of get their effects to go off. That means destroying your own cards through Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute and so on and so forth. And so the majority of the Archfiend cards really just aren't that good. The best Archfiend card in the archetype by far is Archfiend Heiress, and we're going to be focusing a lot on her, but I'm also using a couple of other cards along the way. So, the starters for the deck, we are using one Phantom Sky Blaster. This is a fiend monster, and when it is normal summoned, you get to summon a Sky Blaster token. It is an instant Link 2 monster, and we're going to be playing some Link 2 extenders that this card can easily go into. Tour Guide from the Underworld also easily goes into your Link 2 monster, because when it is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 3 monster from your hand or deck. That includes Archfiend Heiress, and it also includes some other targets we're going to be running to help this deck be a little bit more faster than it normally is designed to be. We play double Allure of Darkness for draw power, and then we're playing a nice card here which is pretty unique, called Dark Spirit's Mastery. This card says discard one card and add one Destiny board or one level 8 fiend monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And then the rest of it has to do with Destiny board stuff. It doesn't matter. All you need to know is that this is a starter card for searching out level 8 fiend monsters from your deck or getting them back from your graveyard. And we're going to be taking advantage of this card very, very much so, and trying to use it like a toolbox. We're going to be sending a lot of cards to the graveyard, so we're going to play Foolish Burial, and we don't really need our extra deck here. This isn't a deck that relies on a lot of special summoning or so much special summoning that you're getting a lot of monsters on the field, so we don't really use our extra deck too much. But so for that, we are playing a couple of copies of Pot of Extravagance so that we have a bit of more draw power so we can keep up with our opponents. Now, from the starters, the main extender for the deck is Archfiend Heiress. Archfiend Heiress says if this card is sent to the graveyard because of a card effect or being destroyed by battle, you can add one Archfiend card from your deck to your hand except Heiress, and you can only do this once per turn. The reason why Archfiend Heiress is so good is because she can search out any Archfiend card, and the best targets for her to search out are Archfiend's Roar, Archfiend Emperor, and also Archfiend Eccentric, which I'll speak about what those cards can do in a moment. The next couple of extenders we're playing are the Dark Spirit cards. These are two really cool level 3 monsters. We've got Dark Spirit of Banishment and Dark Spirit of Malice. How these both cards of these work is, Banishment says if your opponent attacks at the start of the damage step, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target one level 8 monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but its effects are negated, and if you do, change the attack target to it and perform damage calculation. So, to paraphrase this, anytime your opponent attacks you, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and summon back a level 8, and then they are forced to attack that monster instead. Malice works very similar, but instead of when your opponent attacks you, it activates when your opponent activates a card or effect. So having both of these available to you gives you a lot of good coverage, because you're going to be able to trigger their effects quite easily. Now, Malice does the same thing. It summons a level 8 monster, but it doesn't force your opponent to attack it, because this can happen outside of the battle phase. And then both of these cards have the effect of, if a level 8 fiend monster is sent to your graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can add this card to your hand. These cards can loop themselves by their own effect from the graveyard back into your hand. So you want to get to these as early as possible, Get your level 8s in the graveyard, and then anytime your opponent triggers the effects, summon back your level 8s, put them in the graveyard, and then when the level 8s go to the graveyard, you can get them back and keep on doing it again and again and again. They are once per turn effects each, so we are playing a variety of the copies so you can see them early, but not too many that you're going to brick on them, because our first goal is not to get to our level 8s, but to get to Archfiend Ares and then trigger her effect, and that will lead us to our level 8 engine. We also play 3 copies of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. This is a fantastic extender for any Fiend based deck. Basically, when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard except Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Triggers pretty much so many of your monsters, puts cards in the grave. It is really good to do with Tour Guide, so send this to the graveyard, then send another card, and it thins out your deck as well. Archfiend's Roar. Archfiend's Roar is a really good trap card. It's a monster room up rival for Archfiend monsters. Pay 500 life points. Target 1 Archfiend monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target that cannot be tributed, and then destroy it during the end phase of this turn. It's a really easy card to use. It's a great. You can use it with Ares to trigger her effect again, or you can bring back another one of your Archfiends, and it helps you maintain your board presence. Then we're playing 3 copies of Fiend Griefing. Fiend Griefing says that target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and then you can send 1 Fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Another way to send your Ares, send your Dark Spirit cards so they're in the graveyard, send even your Fiendish Rhino Warrior. This card can trigger so many effects and it's very, very useful. We got a couple of extenders in our extra deck. We have Cherubini, E-Born Angel of the Burning Abyss. This takes 2 level 3 monsters to summon. Monsters that this card points to cannot be destroyed by card effects. And then if this card will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send 1 other card you control to the graveyard instead. The real reason why you play this card though is because you can send 1 level 3 monster from your deck to the graveyard, then target 1 Burning Abyss monster on the field, and it gains attack or defense equal to the attack or defense of the monster sent to the graveyard until the end of the turn. So it's just another way to go into a Foolish Burial to send more cards to your graveyard. Another card that works similarly to this is Master King Archfiend. This takes any 2 Fiend monsters, and then once per turn you have to pay 500 life points during the standby phase, or you have to destroy this card. Now this card is a little bit tricky, but how this card works is once per chain, if you do an effect where you pay life points, except during the damage step, say Archfiend's Roar, you can send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard equal to the attack, with attack or defense equal to the amount paid. So if you paid 500, you can send equal to, what is it, let me just read it again, equal to the amount paid. So I don't really know how you will trigger that second effect, to be honest with you, because we're not going to really use it, so don't worry about that effect. It's the last effect that really matters, and it says once per chain, if a Fiend monster is sent to your graveyard except during the damage step, you can roll a 6-sided dice and then apply one of these results. If you get a 1, you can add it to your hand. 2, 3, 4, or 5, which you don't want, you shuffle it back into the deck, or 6, you special summon it. What's cool about this effect is that in certain situations you still get the monster's effect because it was sent to the graveyard. You just get the chance to also summon it or add it to your hand. So what will happen is you send something like Ares to the graveyard, Master Fiend's on the field, Ares will be chain link 1, Master King will be chain link 2, and then you have the option of adding Ares back to your hand or special summon it to the field if your die roll is lucky. Onto our removal cards, and this is where Archfiend starts to shine, and this is where we see our level 8s. We have Abominable Unchained Soul. Now, what I will say at this point, by the way guys, is that if you really like this deck, but you want to improve upon it, I strongly recommend just playing Unchained. Unchained literally do everything that Archfiends want to do, but better. They have better removal cards, better synergy, better searchers, better starters. They work better well together. They're all Fiend type cards. They can use your opponent's cards on the field. Unchained is just a better version of this deck overall. But I'm doing the best I can with this the Archfiend archetype, and we're going to just be using 2 copies of Unchained Soul to help us out. Now how this card works is you can only special summon this card once per turn. If a card you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it's got a really easy summon condition, works really nicely with Archfiend's Roar. Then, if this card is special summoned, you can discard 1 card and destroy 1 card on the field. Really easy to use. Interruption can be done during your opponent's turn, very, very good. And then once per turn during the end phase, if this card is sent to the graveyard, because it was destroyed on the field and sent there this turn, you can special summon this card back to the field, but it goes to the bottom of your deck the next time it leaves the field. So it is a very, very good card to use and works really nice with your Dark Spirits. Back to the Archfiend, we're playing 3 copies of Archfiend Emperor, the first Lord of Horror, 3000 attack, level 8 monster. But the way this card works is you can normal summon this card without tributing, but its original attack or defense become halved. If summoned this way, this card is destroyed during the end phase. That's not too bad because you have so many ways to revive it. Once per turn, you can banish 1 Archfiend card from your hand or the graveyard, then target 1 card on the field and destroy it. Really easy to use removal effect. You can even banish your trap card in order to trigger the effect for this, so it is always pretty much live. A good way to kind of search out monster removal along with Unchained Soul. Lava Golem is also useful here because we can search it out with our Dark Spirit Mastery, being that it's a level 8 Fiend monster, and you can just tribute over 2 of your opponent's monsters and get rid of any threats that they have. Because of the fact that we're playing Lava Golem and so many forms of removal, this deck kind of does well going second as well as going first, so it doesn't really matter too much. I would rather go second with this deck so you have things to pop, but it can go first as well because you've got big beaters. Last monster we have here is Archfiend Eccentric. This card is fantastic. This is a pendulum card, and if you have it on the field as a monster, you can tribute this card and target 1 monster on the field to destroy it. And then if you have it as a pendulum card, you could target 1 spell or trap card on the field and destroy it. And so it is really good as both monster removal and spell or trap removal, and it is searchable with Archfiend Ares. So really nice little card here. The only downside with this card, that being a pendulum card, it won't be sent to the graveyard afterwards, so you won't be able to use it with many of your extenders, unfortunately. And also be aware that if you send it to the graveyard, say with Rhino or Fiend Griffin, and then bring it back with Archfiend's Roar, you won't be able to tribute it or do its effect because Archfiend's Roar prevents that monster from being tributed. So keep that in mind. But what I really like about Archfiend Eccentric is that it's a card with an Archfiend in a name in itself that stays face up on the field, and that works really well for falling down. This is an equipped spell card that is basically Snatch Steal. You activate this card by targeting an opponent's monster, equip this card to it and take control of it. Destroy this card unless you control an Archfiend card. And then during each of your opponent's standby phases, you take 800 damage. It is a really good card to kind of just steal your opponent's stuff, and I would love to play more of it, but a lot of the other cards that work well, like to stay face up on the field, like Archfiend Palabyrinth or things like Archfiend's Oath, are really just bad. So I'm only going to play 2 of it because we don't want to have brick with it. But it is a very powerful card when it's live, and Archfiend Eccentric helps it be a little bit more easier to use. Other removal cards, because we're playing so many level 8s, I'm playing 3 copies of Dingirsu, the Orcus of the Evening Star. You summon this card and can send any card on the field to the graveyard, and it protects your board from destruction, which is really nice. We have Nightmare Phoenix to destroy spells and traps, and Nightmare Unicorn to shuffle any card on the field back into the deck. Onto the defensive cards here. A lot of the cards we've already talked about can be used defensively. You can summon Unchained Soul if one of your cards are destroyed during your opponent's turn. Dark Spirits will keep your level 8s on the field and revive them constantly. Fiendish Rhino Warrior makes it so that your Fiend type monsters cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, so it's got nice protection. And then Archfiend's Roar can just be used to summon a big beater to protect you during the turn. Really talked about what Dingirsu does and Cherubini does, but also I'm playing 2 copies of number 38, Hope, Harbinger, Dragonic Titanic Galaxy, and this is just spell and trap negate. So if you're going to go first and you get 2 level 8s on the field, or just later in the duel when you get 2 level 8s on the field, you can negate a spell card and equip it as a Xyz material to this card. And so that is the Archfiend deck. I'm just going to go over the whole thing for you, and then we'll go into some gameplay. We have double Unchained Soul, 3 Emperor, 3 Ares, double Spark Spirit Banishment, double Malice, 3 Rhino Warrior, 2 Lava Golem, 1 Sky Blaster, double Tour Guide, and 3 Eccentric. For spells, we have double Allure, 3 Dark Spirits Mastery, double Falling Down, 1 Foolish Burial, 3 Pot of Extravagance, 3 Roar, and 3 Griefin. In the extra deck, we have triple Dingirsu, double Hope Harbinger, 3 double Cherubini, triple Phoenix, double Unicorn, and 3 Master Key Archfiend. Do feel free to modify the extra deck, by the way. It's just like loads of targets for Pot of Extravagance. I did have another build of this where I was playing like Super Polymerization, and that also works really well in this deck if you can find the room for it. Is that, say, maybe drop the Falling Downs and play Super Poly targets, because You don't really need your extra deck, but you can feel free to mess around with this as you do. Like I said, this deck isn't powerful enough to really be competitive, and if you really want to soup up this deck, just play Unchained. So let's go into some gameplay and talk about what this deck can do in action. So this was a really fun duel I had here with a guy named the Destroyer Please. I won the rock paper scissors, so I'm choosing to go first because we are playing trap cards in this deck, and so going first is pretty nice to do so that our trap cards are live as soon as possible. Didn't draw any, however, so our hand isn't too good, but we do have one starter, so we're going to play Pot of Extravagance and banish 6 cards from our extra deck at random to draw 2 cards, and hopefully this will go through because we really do need something to start our plays. And so we went into Archfiend Ares, which is nice. I'm going to set that up to the field because if she gets destroyed, we'll get her effect. And then we've also got Fiend Griefing. Fiend Griefing, I don't consider it's a really easy card to use, and I almost want to call it a starter, but you do have to wait till your opponent has a card in the graveyard before you use the effect. So it doesn't just instantly mill, so you do have to wait a little bit, which is why I consider it an extender. But other than that, once it's live, it's really, really good. So the Destroyer starts off with card destruction, and did I just see 2 copies of Block Dragon? I totally did see just 2 copies of Block Dragon, and if you guys haven't seen my Gem Knight FTK video, go and watch that video. It's a way of burning your opponent for over 10,000 damage in the first turn. And it's all thanks to that card there, Block Dragon. I want to do more with Block Dragon. I want to experiment more with that card because I think that card is insanely powerful. I can't wait to revisit that after I get through some more of these deck requests. So we had to send our whole hand to the graveyard, and for us that isn't really too bad because we have many ways to revive cards in our graveyard back to our hand. So our opponent activates Duelist, the Star Beast, and at this point I really don't know what he's doing here. We've seen there's a lot of level 3 monsters. We've got Duelist, the Star Beast, but we're playing Dangers as well. When I saw Block Dragon, the only other deck that I know that people play Block Dragon in is Burning Abyss Block Dragon, because you can send cards to your graveyard quite a lot, and it's just really easy to work with Burning Abyss and Phoenix Rhino Warrior, stuff like that. So, but it doesn't seem like that's quite what this is. So he used Danger Sujinoko's effect, and he managed to summon it back to the field. And what's he gonna do next? We will see. While we're here, we'll wait for our opponent to decide what to do. Are they gonna do a summon now? Here we go. Looks like they're going for Nightmare Phoenix. Yeah, we can always tell with those arrows. I think pretty much the only monster that has those arrows that anyone uses is Nightmare Phoenix. So he's gonna go for my back row by discarding a card from his hand to the graveyard, and we're not too worried about that. There's Fossil Diner. That's also really surprising. I'm like, what? Fossil Diner? What can you do with that? So I don't really know what this deck does, but we got a couple of Earths in the graveyard, so I'm going to get rid of one of them with Block Dragon, shuffle it back in, and then we're going to use Fiend Griefing to send a card from our deck to the graveyard. Best target is normally Phoenix Rhino Warrior, because then it extends further and it can send any other fiend to the graveyard. And so we're going to activate the effect. We're not going to send Ares, I think, because Ares is likely to be destroyed this turn. So we're going to try and send any other fiend monster. And I'm trying to look for cards that can revive themselves from the graveyard. And Unchained Soul would be good to do. And then we have Dark Spirit, and Malice here. And we could use the effect of that because a level 8 card was sent to the graveyard. So we get Malice back and add it to our hand. Now this is kind of really good. We're in a good situation here because we have Banishment and Malice, and both of them are ready and live. So bring back a level 8 card from our graveyard. So if my opponent attacks me or my opponent does an effect and I'm ready, I'm going to hold on to it as long as I can. But you can then activate these cards and then summon a level 8 to the field. So he uses the effect of Fabled Sulcius. And Fabled Sulcius is a level 6 monster that allows you to summon it to the field if you send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard. And I see Gigantis there, which is making me think, wow, that's a card that people used in BA Block Dragon. So maybe this is it. I don't know, but Block Dragon is hitting the field now, and Block Dragon can be a very, very annoying card to get rid of because it has protection. It makes it so that all rock monsters you control cannot be destroyed, and then when it does go to the graveyard, it floats and gives you more resources up to the level 8. You can get up to 3 rock monsters from your deck up to level 8, but I'm not too worried right now. We've got quite a lot of resources I ideally don't want him to trigger off his Block Dragon effect, but I might just have to play through it here. So he now sends 4 cards to the graveyard, and it looks like he's making an Appaloosa. Yep, Appaloosa. There it is. That's gonna send. That's gonna get 800 attack for every material that was used. So he used 3 cards, so he gets 800 times 3, which is 2400 attack. And now he's gonna trigger the effect of Block Dragon. That's gonna let him add up to 3 rock monsters from his deck that is equal to level 8. So if he's got Gigantis, that means he's got to get another level 4. So we've got 2 level 4 monsters, and Gigantis aren't too bad. They are very good for getting rid of back row, because the level 4 monsters that summon themselves to the field, if you banish a Earth type monster from your hand, from your graveyard, and then if they're destroyed by battle, I believe, they blow up the whole field, or all spells and traps on the field. That clearly wasn't the plan though, because our opponent is doing Fabled Sulcus again, and they're putting more Earths in the graveyard for whatever reason, I don't really know. And it looks like they're summoning out Block Dragon one more time, so maybe that's why they wanted to do that. So here comes out Block Dragon again, so I guess he wanted to extend a bit more. And yeah, let's see what he's trying to do here. I still don't know what this deck is. Oh, okay, we're going to battle phase now, so he's just going to swing and attack. Well, I do want areas to be destroyed. I am just looking at Appaloosa. I'm trying to work out, can Appaloosa work during the damage step? And it looks like it can. So will he use it or not? We're going to target Abominable Unchained Soul. Appaloosa can, how it works in this game is if a card negates a monster effect, and it can't be used in a damage step, but if it can negate the activation of a monster effect, then it can be used in a damage step. So Ares goes to the graveyard. He chooses not to negate that, which is pretty good because I think he wants to keep his attack up. And now we're going to search a card from our deck to our hand. Depends on what you want to do. If you want to destroy monsters on the field, you can go for Emperor or Eccentric, but I really just want extenders at the moment, so I went for Raw being the safest bet. We're going to take this 2500 to the face, and then we're going to take 1600 from Appaloosa, and we'll see. We'll go on to main phase 2 now and see what our opponent is going to try and do next. So end phase, over to our turn. Let's make something happen here. We draw another copy of Abominable Unchained Soul, which isn't too bad, but we're going to start off with Dark Spirit's Mastery. Now, there are a couple of things which you could search out here. We could go for Emperor, and Emperor could destroy cards on the field, or we could go for Lava Golem and just tribute his monsters. Now, I'm thinking about what I'm going to plan to do here. I don't really have any normal summons. I guess I could normal summon Malice, but it's not what you really want to do. You want to keep it in your hand. If I get the Lava Golem, I need to make sure I have a way to get rid of it afterwards. But getting rid of Appaloosa would be a really good idea. Now, what is a mistake here is that I actually got Emperor from the graveyard, and really what I should have done here is I should have I should have got one out of my deck instead of the graveyard, so that was a mistake. That was just a little bit of an accident. We're going to banish a card from our graveyard to destroy one in the field, so we're going to banish the Eccentric in our graveyard, and we're going to try and pop either Appaloosa or one of the other cards. We're going to go for Appaloosa because we know he's going to negate it, so we're going to force him to activate this card. Now, Appaloosa, what is good about the card, or the way you can play around it, is that it is only once per chain. So, because he has already chosen to negate my Emperor, he can't now negate my Dark Spirit of Malice, so we are free to use that card and summon a level 8 from our graveyard. So we summon out Abominable Unchained Soul, and if I remember, I do mistakenly use the effect of Abominable Unchained Soul here. It is negated, so putting it, trying to destroy a card on the field is not going to do anything, and so keep that in mind. Try not to make the mistake that I did. But level 8 was sent to the graveyard, which means we do trigger the effect of both Malice and Banishment. So now they will both come back from our graveyard and be added to our hand. He is going to try and negate one of them, and that's fine, he gets that. His Appaloosa is now on 0, but we will get back the other one. It is a real shame that we can't choose to chain block in this game. Chain blocking is where we get mandatory effects, or called SECOC. Sequential effects go on chain. And basically what it says in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that if you've got multiple cards that activate at the same time, you as a player get to choose which one goes first and which one goes second. In Legacy of the Duelist Evolution, it just puts it automatically for you. And that can be really, really unfortunate because if I, say, had already used Banishment's effect, adding it back to my hand wouldn't be advantageous because I can't trigger it effect again. So I would rather have gone for Malice. In this situation it worked out fine, but sometimes it's not ideal. I've deliberately not gone for the Block Dragon. I do know I have to destroy Block Dragon at some point, but I don't want to set up his follow-up turn. I would rather he has to use a resource to get rid of his own Block Dragon to get more advantage, and then I can deal with whatever he gets later on. So that's why I didn't go for the Block Dragon, even though it is a very, very big monster to deal with. Opponent activates Foolish Burial, going to send a card from the deck to the graveyard. Probably more resources for Block Dragon to come back. We'll see what he does. And while we're waiting for our opponent to decide what to do, I'm going to be trying to knock out a lot of the deck requests I've got recently. I'm just going to have a look at my computer. Sorry if I'm hitting the mic there. Let's see. Yeah, I think I've been requested to do at least 25 different decks at the moment, and I kind of want to speed it up because I don't want you guys to lose interest. Obviously there's only so many deck profiles I can do in a week, and I don't want to do multiple profiles in a single day, because my videos have been pretty long recently, and I don't know if people want to watch multiple half-hour long videos of deck profiles. Maybe you do. If you do, let me know down in the comments down below. But I'm going to try and get a lot of these up. So what I might do is slow down the number of shorts I've got and put these in the slots of shorts so I can get them out. Depends on how many I can build though. I do build all of my decks from scratch. I don't build, I don't copy people's decks or net deck. I might look at some decks for ideas, but I build everything from scratch and I test it from scratch. So it does take me a little bit long to do. But that way I know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm actually playing the deck. I'm not just saying, hey, here's the profile, go and take it. I am also working on a couple of things behind the scenes to improve the channel. One thing that I'm trying to do right now is, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, is I have built a Discord server. I've had to learn how to build a Discord server. I don't really know how to do things like at the moment I was learning how to do what bots I should use, and one video says, oh, use all these bots, and another video says use these bots, and it's kind of confusing. So I'm still working that out. But the Discord server is on the way. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. I'm probably going to call it Duel School, kind of in lieu of like Duel Academy, but Duel Academy is so popularly used. I'm just going to call it Duel School. And the idea behind the Discord server is that I want it to be a place of information. I don't mind people hanging out, and that's totally fine. But what I want is it to be like almost like a dueling archive. So if you are someone that's maybe 2 years down the line playing Salamangreats and you want to know, oh, I'm playing Link Evolution, it doesn't seem like anyone plays it anymore, where can I get some profiles? Well, you could obviously go to my channel and subscribe. That's I'll really appreciate that. But also you could go into Discord and just go to maybe the Salamangreat room and talk to people about it and get advice. And there'll be maybe some example deck profiles there. So that's one thing I'm currently working on. If there's another long pause, I'll talk about what other things we're doing here. But on to my turn here. In the last turn, my opponent sent Destiny Hero Malicious to the graveyard, and I used Fiend Griefer to shuffle it back in because I don't want my opponent getting any extenders at this point. I just want to kind of make sure that we control the field and the board. And what we're going to do now is we did Tour Guide into Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and now we got to deal with Block Dragon. Cards with big stats can be difficult for this deck to deal with, particularly if they have protection from effects that target or protection from effects that lead to destruction. So we have to rely on our extra deck to deal with a card like this, because right now there's no way for me to increase my monster's attack. I'm not playing anything like Borosaur Dragon, which can increase its own attack from the extra deck. So right now, in my extra, the only card I can really have to deal with this is Nightmare Unicorn. So we're gonna have to use Unicorn and to get rid of Block Dragon, and this is good because that way we're not triggering its effect and giving our opponent more resources. I'm gonna use 3 monsters on my field to make this link free, and I'm just trying to decide what to go for. I'm gonna use Rhino, Tour Guide, and I'm gonna use the Emperor, because the Emperor will naturally be destroyed during the end phase. So that's not really what you want, but by sending a level 8, it should trigger. I think I have another copy of Malice in my graveyard, so we should be able to add that to our hand, which is good because we have to discard a card for Nightmare Unicorn's effect. So let's shuffle back in that Block Dragon and Dark Spirit of Malice is also going to trigger, the one that was originally in the graveyard, and also Rhino Warrior is going to trigger. So hopefully at this point you guys have seen most of the extent of the deck. Hopefully you can see what this deck can do, and it isn't terrible. It is actually a decent deck. I'm sorry that it's not playing more Archfiend cards, but most of them are just really bad right now. And I struggled with trying to fit in cards like Commander or Cavalry, because in order for those cards to be useful, they required a lot of extra steps. And so I just said to myself, no, I'm not going to play the bad cards. I'm just going to choose the best cards and work with what we've got and try and build a deck around those. So it's mostly focusing on Ares, Archfiend Raw, Eccentric, and Emperor. Not even really Master King Archfiend. I don't really like the Link monster. That's not really that good. So there's that. But it's nice. It's really fun to just be able to loop your cards. That being said, Unchained can do all of this and more, and they are definitely the better Fiend deck to play in my opinion. Can be really annoying to go against Unchained because they focus so much on destruction. Yeah, they can be really annoying to deal with. Opponent top deck into Mathematician. That's cool. I'm gonna just, at this point, I'm not really too worried about what my opponent could do, so I'm just gonna go for Dark Spirit of Malice now. Normally I would save it and see what happens, but I'm not expecting him to really be able to do anything. So we're going to go Dark Spirit of Malice to summon back out our Abominable Unchained from the graveyard. So out he comes. Unfortunately, there's no point me triggering the effect because I can't pop at this time. But hey, we've got some monsters on the field, so it is what it is. So while my opponent sends cards to the graveyard, other things I'm working on improving the quality of the videos on the channel. One thing I'm trying to do at the moment is learn how to improve the quality of the audio. I want to get a better microphone and make it sound, just try to improve the quality of that. And also I'm going to try and improve the way these videos are presented. So I'm trying to work on that too. Recently I did a video for Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel is a lot of fun. I really enjoy playing it. It is multiplayer Yu-Gi-Oh! With a lot more simpler rules. And it can be really fun to play. So I'm looking forward to doing more videos on that too. And because it's nice to try to play different Yu-Gi-Oh! Games because it spices it up a little bit. So it's really nice to kind of try out different ways. In my opinion, it is the best spin-off version of Yu-Gi-Oh! The game is still currently in beta now, but I think it would be fun to play it on permanent release. The only questionable part about it is the way that the gacha system is going to be implemented. And if you guys want to see more about what Cross Duel is like and see it in action, then feel free to go and check out the video that I posted on this past Thursday on my channel. So Destroyer hasn't given up yet. He's still playing the game. He's still trying to make something work here. He's made Cherubini. He sent Fiendish Rhino Warrior, and I'm like, what are you trying to do here? Now, level 3 Fiend monsters are deceptively good at their recursion effect. So he's very likely to be able to get something going here. He's gone for Fiendish Rhino Warrior. That's gonna let him get to a Burning Abyss. So he's gone for Graph. Graph is gonna let him summon a card from the deck to the field, and he's gone for Sir. And Sir's hitting the field, and now he's got 3 monsters on the field from one Mathematician. They've also got Sea Archiver in the graveyard, and Sea Archiver is going to hit the field as well. So now, I'm like, this could be bad. This could be bad. He's got enough materials on the board to do a Link 4. If he has something like a Borrowsword Dragon in his extra deck, I actually would lose here. Because he could just attack over my Abominable Unchained, and he would guarantee do at least 3,000 damage using Borrowsword's effect. So that's pretty worrying. But instead, he's going to go for 2 level 3s, and he's going to go into Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. And Dante, if you don't know what he does, classic card. You detach 1 material from this card and can send up to 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. What I do like about this version of Burning Abyss, it doesn't really play spell cards in this deck. And there used to be a version of Burning Abyss, I'm trying to remember what the card was, but that really rewarded you for not playing spell cards. Oh my god, I think it was called Sekka's Light. And I think it allowed you to draw cards if you had no spell cards in your graveyard. Let me just look it up and what it did. I'm pretty sure it got limited, unfortunately, but it worked really well with Burning Abyss because Burning Abyss doesn't really need to play spell cards to trigger their monster effects. Sekka Light. Let me just read what this does out. Sekka Light. If you have no spell trap cards in your graveyard, draw 2 cards. Also, for the rest of this turn of the rest of this duel, after you activate this card, you cannot activate spell trap cards or effects except Sekka's Light You can banish this card from your graveyard, reveal one monster card in your hand, shuffle it into your deck, and then draw one card. It was a self-sufficient normal spell card draw engine, so anytime you drew it, you could just draw 2 cards, and then you could put cards that you didn't want from your hand back into your deck to draw other cards out. It was a really fun way to play Burning Abyss, and I think it got limited to 1, which makes it a lot less useful, but it was a really fun way to play this this type of deck. Probably it's still going here. At this point here, I was like, Nightmare Cerberus, why are you making that card? That kind of like wow, I don't know what you're doing here anymore. He has done Dante's effect. He has milled a bunch of cards to the graveyard, and he is having a little bit of a think. He's going to link off his 2 cards into Nightmare Unicorn, and it wasn't until here that I realized exactly what my opponent was trying to do. And to be honest with you, I thought this play was so smart. I thought this was a really clever play. Why did he make Nightmare Cerberus? Why did he go through all his effects to just make a Nightmare Cerberus and put it in the graveyard? Why is he doing all this? Can you guys work it out? Have you figured it out what the goal is here? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I still hadn't figured it out until around about this point. But I'm having to look in the graveyard to see what I can maybe trigger the effect of. I'm going to activate Archfiend's Roar because he's going to try and get rid of it anyway. We're going to summon a card from the graveyard. I'm just going to summon Eris because Eris leads into more other cards. So we don't need to go for our Archfiend Emperor right now. I would rather go for a card that's going to get us more cards. Dante's gone to the graveyard. It's going to add back Sir. And Nightmare Unicorn is going to whiff because Archfiend Roar was used. And then he's going to banish 3 Earth monsters, including the Nightmare Cerberus, to summon back the bloody Blot Dragon. And you know what? My hat off to this Duelist. I thought that was really clever. It's being able to see that line of play. He just, remember this turn, he just went from Mathematician to a whole board of monsters, including Blot Dragon on the field. He didn't have enough Earth monsters in the graveyard to make this work, but he found a way to do this. And I actually thought this was really impressive here. I actually sent him a message and said, you know what, dude, that was really clever. I think I'm actually typing them in a message right now, so I'm going to actually speed up a little bit. But it doesn't matter too much. We have Dark Spirit Management in our hand. We're going to summon our Emperor, have it onto the field, and then the attack target is going to switch to the Emperor, and that should do 500 damage, and that is game. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this deck profile of Archfiends. It's a fun deck to play. It can be cool to play and experiment with, but it's kind of out of date and a lot slow. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you soon. Take care.